Alright, last one waste time. Donald Trump just announced he's sending the National Guard into Memphis, Tennessee, because it has the highest violent crime rate of any big city in America. Yeah, Memphis, not Chicago, not Detroit, not Baltimore. Memphis. And the way he pitched it on Fox News, you'd think Elvis himself picked up the phone and said, Don, help me out. But here's the thing. What looks like a crime crackdown could actually be a constitutional crisis waiting to happen. Before we proceed further, here's a quick disclaimer. This is satirical commentary based on Fox News report. This is my take for entertainment purpose, no hate intended. So here's the headline. Trump says Memphis is deeply troubled and could be the next stop for federal troops after what he's calling a successful National Guard search in Washington, D.C. The FBI data backs up at least part of his claim. Memphis tops the list for violent crime among big U.S. cities. 2,501 incidents per 100,000 people. That's number one. Then you've got Oakland, Detroit, and Baltimore. So yeah, the numbers are ugly. But let's pause, because anytime a president starts talking about troops occupying American cities, alarms should be going off in your head. On Fox and Friends, Trump said he would have preferred to send a guard into Chicago, but there's already a big immigration crackdown happening there. So he pivoted. Memphis is a new target. He literally said, we'll straighten out the National Guard and anybody else we need. That's not crime policy, that's martial law cosplay. And of course, Trump dressed it up with lines like, Memphis is a great music city, the home of Elvis, because nothing says law and order like quoting Elvis before sending in the army. Not everybody's clapping for this move. Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris straight up blasted it. This is disappointing, anti-democratic, and violates American norms and possibly U.S. laws. Translation, this feels illegal. He warned it would cause fear in vulnerable communities and strain Tennessee's reputation for decades. Memphis Mayor Paul Young tried to play it more diplomatic. He said he wants financial resources, not tanks on BL Street. And look, he's not wrong. Memphis has seen progress when federal agencies like the FBI and state troopers partner with local police. That's actually policing support, not a military deployment. But of course, Republicans lined up behind Trump. Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee, she was basically like, finally, thank you, Mr. President, for answering my call to make Memphis safe again. This is where you realize it's not just about Memphis. It's about creating a political template. Trump flexes federal muscle in blue cities. Republican senators cheer. Democrats scream about overreach. And Trump gets to say, look, I'm the only one doing something about crime. And if you dig deeper, there's already a federal plan called Operation Viper, which is supposed to boost FBI and DEA presence in West Tennessee. That's law enforcement. That's the job. But National Guard troops, that's a whole different ballgame. They're not trained to walk a beat. They're trained for combat zones. So when you drop them into American neighborhoods, you're not solving crime. You're escalating tension. It's like trying to fix a leaky sink by blowing up your kitchen. Now, here's the real danger. Sending the National Guard into a state without that state's approval. That's a constitutional gray zone. Traditionally, governors control the Guard units unless there's a natural disaster or insurrection. So when Trump says he's deeply troubled and might just send them anyway, what he's really saying is, I'm willing to sidestep state authority if I feel like it. That's not law and order, that's federal occupation. Remember Portland in 2020? Remember federal agents in unmarked vans scooping up protesters? This is the sequel, but bigger. Here's why Trump's doing this. Crime is a political weapon. If you're a conservative, you point to blue cities and say, look, Democrats can't keep you safe, only I can. It doesn't matter that violent crime has been trending down nationally since the pandemic spike. It doesn't matter that the FBI already has partnerships in Memphis. What matters is the image of troops in the streets. That's optics. That's campaign material. And the fact that he's choosing a city like Memphis, a historically Democratic stronghold, as another layup. This isn't just about crime. It's about who gets branded as lawless and who gets to play savior. Let's actually think about Memphis here. You send in the Guard, and suddenly people in vulnerable neighborhoods see soldiers, not cops. That erodes trust in institutions that are already on shaky ground. Mayor Harris warned it could chill freedoms like protesting or even traveling. Imagine being a regular person just trying to live your life, and suddenly your block looks like a military checkpoint. And you know what happens when you mix scared communities with armed troops? Mistakes, misunderstandings, violence, we have seen it before. Trump keeps pointing to Washington, D.C. He says, look, crime went down after the surge there. Yes, crime stats improved, but D.C. is unique. It's not a state, it's a federal governance backyard. You can't copy-paste that model onto Memphis or Chicago or Oakland. It's apples and oranges. And by the way, even in D.C., Mayor Muriel Bowser, who originally opposed the surge, said yes, crime dropped, but she is still cautious because she knows this is a slippery slope. So now the country is split. One side says if crime is high, send in the troops. The other side says that's not the military's job and it risks turning America into a police state. And in the middle, millions of Americans who just want safe neighborhoods without Humvees patrolling their streets. So here's the bottom line. Memphis does have a crime problem. Nobody's denying that. But deploying the National Guard isn't a cure. It's a band-aid dipped in gasoline. It sets a precedent that the president can militarize American cities whenever he wants. Today it's Memphis. Tomorrow it could be Chicago. Next week, who knows? So the real question isn't whether this will lower crime. The real question is, do we want a future where the federal government can send troops into your city against your mayor's wishes anytime it decides you're deeply troubled? Because that's not public safety, that's occupation. And history tells us once you normalize occupation, it doesn't stay in Memphis, it spreads everywhere. If you care about this issue, don't just watch it and play out on cable news. Pay attention to what's happening in your own city, your own state. Because whether you live in Memphis or not, this debate is about all of us.